Imagine your mother, your sister, or any other female relative for that matter, are killed by someone who is supposed to protect them or love them simply because of their gender. What questions would you ask yourself? Would you be thinking about getting justice for them? Would you be angry? Such are the questions that people of Mexico find that they are asking themselves as the murder of women, specifically labeled femicides, appears to be on the rise and has been on the rise for the past few years. Although I'll be mentioning Mexico specifically, femicides happen worldwide, which is why it's essential to learn about them. Seeing as that my parents are Mexican immigrants and pay a lot of attention to Mexican news and media, I know a bit more about the situation than other people might be aware of and what has been going on in the past few weeks. Today I'll be defining femicides, talking about the four different kinds, as well as discussing the specific situation in Mexico and how the people there are retaliating and demanding justice. To start with the definition of femicide, the World Health Organization defines them as the intentional murder of a woman because they are a woman. However, this definition can encompass the killing of women or girls in general. These murders or acts of violence are perpetuated mainly by men, but there are some instances in which women are involved as well. The thing that differentiates a femicide from a homicide or the murder of a man is that femicides are usually a result or consequence of ongoing abuse at home, and they involve the partner as the murderer, whether this relationship is current or old. This kind of abusive relationship occurs when there is a power imbalance between the people in the relationship, and the women who are targeted have less power or less resources than their partner, who puts them in a compromising position that is hard to leave, and it leaves them in this dangerous situation that could eventually result in a femicide. And this is what people of Mexico are currently experiencing, where femicides have been on the rise. To illustrate the growing number, I have a line graph from Statista.com that was released this February. The graph depicts the number of femicides that have occurred every month since 2019, and I'll show it to you now. So the light blue line that you find here depicts 2019. This dark blue line is 2020, and this gray dot here is 2021. 2021 is only a dot so far for January because this graph was released in February of 2020. However, some important things to note is that the months with the most murders happened February and June of 2020, and there was a stay-at-home order around March in Mexico because of the pandemic. So the numbers still went significantly higher in some months despite that. And to discuss some more numbers, in 2019 there were 69 femicides in January, 2020 had 74, and in 2021 there were 67. And again, this is just in 1 month. The World Health Organization also states that because in most countries police don't differentiate between homicide and femicide, it is difficult sometimes to gather data for these graphs. However, the graph is still a good representation of the cases going up in Mexico regardless. Moving on to the different kinds of femicides, the World Health Organization labels 4 of them as intimate femicide, murders in the name of honor, dowry-related femicide, and non-intimate femicide. So to start with intimate femicide, it is labeled as so when the murderer and the victim have an intimate relationship, whether they be a former or current boyfriend or husband. And evidence from the studies done by London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine show that only about 5% of the murders of a man are committed by an intimate partner. And however, when it is by a female partner, it is often in the name of self-defense. So this is complete opposite of intimate femicide, because in intimate femicide, women have been abused for a while, and then it results in their murder eventually. So we move on to the second type, which is murder in the name of honor. This happens when there is some sort of sexual assault or an illegitimate pregnancy, and then the woman is killed in order to protect the honor of a family. And this happens because it's a way to silence the woman from speaking out against the man's possible crimes. The third type is dowry-related murder, and it is usually linked to cultural practices, or it happens when in-laws murder a bride because of conflicts over dowry, such as when her parents don't pay enough. And then the last one, which is non-intimate femicide, is committed when the murderer and the victim don't have an intimate relationship or when they are strangers. It often involves sexual aggression as well. So to tie this last one with Mexico, the World Health Organization reports that 400 women have been murdered in the past decade in Ciudad de Juarez, Mexico, in this way. Now that I've defined the different kinds of femicides that can occur and the most common type in Mexico, which is the non-intimate femicide, I'll be discussing the situation in further detail and how they have been advocating for the safety of their women. So I have a picture from the Towson University Journal of International Affairs, and it depicts women in March of last year protesting to bring attention to their situation. And their sign reads, "En México, 9 mujeres son asesinadas al día," which translates to, "In Mexico, 9 women are assassinated a day." And then it also says, "Ni una más," which means not one more. I'll show you the picture now. So here we see the women of Mexico protesting. This is the sign that says 9 women are murdered a day in Mexico, and then not one more down here. Okay, so women have taken to the streets not just in 2020 but also in 2021 because their president Andrés Manuel López Obrador hasn't done anything to amend the situation. The same article that picture is from states that the president has cut aid to shelters that try to protect women in abusive relationships and has cut funding for programs that attempt to protect victims of gendered violence. This is dangerous because, like I stated before, about femicides is that they're likely to occur when there's a power imbalance in a relationship. So cutting the funding for these programs makes it so that women are trapped in their situation, and little progress has been made in the nation in terms of fighting femicide overall. So in the end, although women and advocates are trying their best to advocate for stricter laws in terms of this violence, little to no progress has been made at all to resolve or reduce the issue. Today I went over the definition for femicide, the 4 different classifications, and the specific situation going on in Mexico. Due to the circumstances that I previously outlined, one can see that they can happen and do happen all over the world. In the end, I hope that now that you understand a little bit more about femicide, you are also aware that we need to take the initiative everywhere to educate people on tragic consequences of gendered violence to ensure the safety of all women and girls.